You're probably wondering, how does this title make any sense? Well, there once was a level so strange that most wrote it off as impossible. But as months passed, people began to realize they were all part of a lie. To understand how a rumor so insane even spread, we'll first have to understand the creator behind the level. This is saRy, by far the best player at the time. He had just completed one of the hardest levels, Deadly Clubstep, and it was seemingly no challenge to him. In his victory post, he mentioned the possibility of creating a level using the butterfly mode, or as you may know it, the swingcopter. Back then, the swingcopter was this weird dual setup, and so people begged him not to include it because of how difficult it'd be. But saRy did not listen. In the following days, he began work on a level that he called his magnum opus, a level known as Rumour. Fear raced through the community. Any level saRy touched was instantly an insane challenge. Eventually, after days of work, he finished it and uploaded it to the servers. But it wouldn't last long. saRy was unhappy with the level's decoration and wanted it to get rated, which basically means having RobTop officially approve the level. So he took down this version and proceeded to collab with arguably the greatest level creator of that era, Neptune.
I think Neptune had a lot of potential and made some of the most iconic levels in the game.
Being one of the few creators to have their level uploaded on RobTop's YouTube channel, Neptune made quick work of redecorating Red World, and only 3 days later, it would be uploaded in its final form. But this is where the story takes an interesting turn. You see, saRy turned out to be a hacker and would soon quit Geometry Dash. This meant that Red World was now left on its own, abandoned by its creator, and things would only get worse. RobTop would then release an update that removed the hitbox of a block, which just so happened to make Red World physically impossible, as this block was crucial to pass the first few clicks. Unless you had a copy of this level, you could not play it at all. With no direct access, no one could really tell the true difficulty. And this is where all the lies begin. With saRy turning out to be a hacker, people were unsure of the true difficulty of Red World. Was it even made to be possible? Luckily, a player known as Jack the Froster managed to record a full run of the level before it broke. What they saw shocked them. Not only did it look insane, Jack the Froster also spent over 2,400 attempts to complete it, in practice mode. Most thought he was a decent player as he had beaten tough levels with much less trouble. So seeing him struggle so much made them doubt that Red World was even meant to be possible. However, an interesting thing with Jack the Froster's replay is where most of the attempts start to pile up. It's right after that custom swingcopter part that everyone begged saRy not to include. It was almost unseen at the time, and the weird physics made it super challenging for most. So when they got thrown into an actually hard swingcopter part, it hit them like a truck. Soon, the level would be placed at the insanely hard section of the hardest levels list. To give you a perspective on how difficult that section is, it sat right beside Silent Clubstep, another level that took over 8 years to complete. It's safe to say that most considered Red World to be on the brink of humanly impossible. saRy's creations always had a bad reputation. For example, his level Hate War was despised for its random difficulty spikes that made it awful to play. Then, a few months later, Red World came by and was avoided by many, due to its seemingly impossible gameplay. To me, this is quite sad. I even played Red World myself for this video, and while it did get me mad at times, I still appreciated it for the interesting gimmicks it had. saRy was extremely passionate about his creations and put lots of effort into them. He unironically spent sleepless nights working on Red World in hopes the community would like it. Sadly, after he quit, the level never really got the positive reception he desired. It's genuinely a memorable level, and to have it ignored because of some fake rumors is unfortunate. And on top of all this, the final nail in this level's coffin was just about to be put into place. A few months after Jack the Froster's run, a player named NotJustPK would upload a video titled Top 5 Hardest Impossible Levels in Geometry Dash. Red World placed at number 2 on that list. The video exploded in popularity, and now even more people became part of the lie that had been going on for months. Some still had a sliver of hope though, and asked Riot, the best player at the time, if he would attempt to complete it. He said he was interested in the level and may attempt it in the future. But at least for now, no one was attempting Red. As months passed, however, the tide shifted. Copies of the unbroken version of Red World began spreading, and now more players were giving it a go. Some started to notice that Jack the Frosher's 2400 attempt practice run wasn't really an accurate display of its difficulty. And so they started to wonder that maybe, just maybe, if a player good enough attempted it, it could be completed. This is Trusta, a fairly small player at the time, but nonetheless very, very skilled. He was interested in Red World and thought the level was completely overhyped. He began progressing and soon enough made major progress. 42%, 59%, 68%. This was crazy. Trusta was about to do the impossible. However, just as quickly as he progressed, just as quickly he burnt out, and progress remained stagnant. Maybe saRy's masterpiece was doomed to stay unbeaten after all. It had been months since any new progress on Red World was made, but saRy was about to change that. Similarly to Trusta, he started progressing super fast. In fact, his first progress video was him getting 67%, only 1% behind Trusta, and a few days later, he took the lead. However, there was something different about the level in that video. Just like saRy got Neptune to improve Red World's decoration, saRy gathered a team to do the same. That way, the level would have a surefire chance of being rated by RobTop, since the standards for good decoration had gone up significantly since Red World's original release.
Reprint or either Riot asked me, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds kind of fun. For some reason, I remember that it was supposed to be kind of like the same, but maybe it was gonna be buffed. I'm not sure. Like, I just remember that it was gonna be like a remaster only.
Anyhow, at this point, saRy's only goal was to become the first to prove the level was possible. To do that, he still needed to pass the infamous final swingcopter, considered by many the hardest part. Fortunately for him, this racetrack seemed empty. Even if it took him months to beat, he'd still most likely come first.
Started probably in winter or springtime. On my side, I made it probably in 1 or 2 days. But for the other parts that the other creators made, I'm not even sure, like, most likely pretty fast.
saRy struggled to progress.
Tío, no! ¡Otra puta vez, tío!
It had been weeks and he had only made it 6% further. He had hit a massive wall and it was starting to get to him. But saRy wasn't going to stop. He needed to become the first to slay Red World once and for all. Everyone was counting on him. Little did he know that a rival far bigger than him would snatch any hopes of that ever happening.
So I was kind of just amazed by most levels of that difficulty, but I specifically remember Red World Rebirth when I was like, I don't even know what a swingcopter is. Like,
I was kind of surprised because I'm also checking the video and it says that he did beat this only in 4,640 attempts, which is very little considering if this is a buffed version too.
A buffed and remade version of Red World had just been completed by Riot. After years of it being considered impossible, it was proven to be possible. But not everyone was a winner. saRy lost his chance of becoming the first victor, and it would take him months to complete it. Although, most importantly, the original Red World was still ignored. You see, while Red World Rebirth would get rated and have many victors, the original remained broken and unrated. As far as I know, barely anyone played the level in the next few years. And saRy's goal of having this level rated seemed less and less plausible as time passed. Over the years, many levels have become unplayable because of new updates. A moderator named Pause thought this was a pretty major issue, and so got the bright idea to try to fix some of those levels. While fixing them, he happened to remember Red World. He thought it was special to Geometry Dash's history, and so, for the first time in over 6 years, the original version by saRy would be fixed and rated.
I was super happy about it. Just any old level that gets fixed to be made possible, I think is really awesome for the playing community.
This was incredible! While saRy had been long gone by this point, probably feeling guilty for his hacking, it's good to know that his goal was fulfilled after all. Thousands would play the level and hundreds would complete it. And a few years later, this swingcopter, which people feared initially, had gotten so ingrained in the community that it would be officially added as its own game mode in the new 2.2 update. The story of Red World just goes to show to never be afraid to try something new. When it first released, the weird gameplay, saRy's aura, and Jack the Froster's replay all made the level super feared for anyone to try. However, when a player skilled enough attempted it, they realized they could not only beat it, but they could buff it in the process. So just remember, if there is something that seems impossible, just make sure it isn't another Red World situation. Goodbye!